weeks ago when we were getting bombed out in Israel.
And what?
But when those rockets were going back and forth. But he's okay.
Okay. Well, that's great. I don't know where he's living now, what he's doing, but that was the last time we had seen him. I know Scott was amazed when he did all that work, because he's not really easily impressed.
Yeah, he's in Jaffa.
Yeah, but he was the real deal. He's the real deal, and I thought that they gave him a hard time with the reports and whatever, and he was really kind of embarrassed somewhat about. He said to me of a time that he kind of felt a little sorry that Andrea put himself on the line like that. He didn't really know what to really. It was just so much. Pretty fantastic stuff, I must say.
You two have interviewed some great UFO witnesses. How about you, Scott? What's the most popular?
While we were working for Fate, and I did a magazine an article for Los Angeles Magazine, and we went around interviewing people in LA. It was about the UFO phenomenon in LA, which really started in 1942, well before the famous episode that got flying saucers the name of Mount Rainier. In 1942, there was a really serious UFO incident. Everybody thought it was the Japanese, with something that hovered over LA, and they shot thousands of rounds at it and couldn't dent it, and it just stood there. And so we went around and interviewed quite a number of people that had some pretty interesting stories to say about their own experiences. LA, not surprisingly, has been a hotbed for the UFO phenomenon, and a lot of the researchers have lived here. UFO Magazine was published here, first by Vicki and Don Ecker, and then by Nancy and Bill Burns. And Don was one of the most interesting guys because he had a really hardcore background as a special ops guy in Vietnam in the 70s. He had an above top secret crypto access clearance, and he knew somebody from the NSA. And then when I think he was severely injured or lost his leg while he was a narcotics officer up in Idaho. And that's where he started hearing from all the ranchers about UFOs or lights coming in and cattle mutilations and all those kind of things. And after he talked to the friend of the family about the NSA, this really got him interested in trying to take an objective approach to it. So they became a fairly credible publication in the field. And so we interviewed them, and we interviewed Ann Druffel, who's a well-regarded author. And then one of the people that we met with was Michael Bershad, who is known as Steve Kilburn in Bud Hopkins' Missing Time. And eventually he came out with his own name. That was to protect his identity. And he talked about his abduction, and he underwent polygraphs, hypnosis. And one surgeon told us that the details that he talked about when he was supposedly operated on in the UFO, he said the surgeon told him there's only a dozen people in the world that understand the significance of what you said. So he was just one of many people that we talked with. Also, C.D.B. Bryan, a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist, wrote Close Encounters of the Fourth Kind, and I interviewed him, and he had the same reaction I did to the abduction thing. He said he got out of it because the whole abduction thing was starting to seem like Alice in Wonderland and driving him crazy. And so it was quite the adventure. But anyway, the editors got fired before it was published for reasons having nothing to do with this article. New editor came from W, a fashion magazine. He said, it's really not my thing, so he paid me, and I ended up taking it to UFO Magazine, so that ended up getting published there. So that was kind of a wild ride, and but it was a great access, Los Angeles Magazine, to be able to talk to people who might not otherwise want to talk. Sandra, do you recall anything from that research?
Well, I remember that we went to the office of Dr. Robert Lear in Thousand Oaks, and he had shown us small little objects he took from the bodies
of people,
alleged
implants,
victims. And he said that, and that we had a team of doctors that worked on these individuals, and we did see he's dead serious, and we believed him, and he showed us little chips or something. I guess they're like a tracking device that would put in bodies, and we happened to meet two abductees that were very impressive. One was a man, dead serious, scared to death, and a woman also. You can tell by their face they were frightened beyond belief. The only two I really met, and I really believed them. I really thought they went through something very traumatic. But there's Robert Lear, Dr. Roger Lear.
Roger, yeah.
Was the doctor that supposedly removed all these little tracking devices.
Yeah, what he said was these were magnetic implants surrounded by nerve tissue. They didn't have any inflammatory cells, which was significant. And he put me on the phone with one of his colleagues and said he was working with about a dozen people. I haven't followed up with him to see where that stood, but it seemed to mystify.
Well, Roger has passed on.
Were.
Roger's not with us anymore.
Ah. Well, I used to live out in Thousand Oaks, and he had an office there. So back then we didn't meet with him, but I haven't really been following the abduction field until recently. So I don't know how the whole implant effort went.
Well, you believe that this latest episode of the UFOs might be non-terrestrial?
Yes. I've certainly talked to enough credible witnesses to believe there is something going on, and I believed it was extraterrestrial up until...
You changed your mind?
Some years ago. There are problems with that scenario, however. It seems logical, but the first problem is that, people will say, well, there's 88 billion planets that might harbor intelligent life. But I read David Walton's Lucky Planet, and he said, the problem with that is that each of these phases of evolution takes millions of years, and if you don't get through each one in lockstep, then nothing happens. And so, the whole process of evolution was 4.5 billion years and 600 million from multicellular creatures, and, it doesn't seem like there is any intelligent design. If you look at the 600 million years, there are all kinds of screw-ups, starting with the fact that 99% of species are extinct. You look at human beings, the woman's pelvis is badly designed, the male urinary and prostate cross over and cause problems. The eyeball is basically backwards, which is why we have bad vision when we get older. And if the aliens were really in charge and they were an advanced civilization, would they have sat around for 168 million years waiting for the dinosaurs to develop and then say, well, this isn't working out, let's bring in some asteroids? It doesn't seem to make any sense. And what surprised me was the relatively recent research on cellular intelligence in a number of books. And this is related to evolution because it turns out that you can make a very credible case that without God, without aliens, evolution would have proceeded as it did with all the imperfections and screw-ups and some intelligence here or there. If you go to godreconsidered.com, and just click on the Facebook logo, I have all the evolution information there in a blog called The Big Issues Religions Ignore. The other thing that got me thinking about this was Jacques Vallée, the guy who was
great researcher. Hold on, Scott. We'll come back and talk about Jacques in get you, Sandra, and also an hour of phone calls next on Coast to Coast AM. We will be right back.
Find out more about tonight's guest. Log on to
I'm sure going to get a bunch of emails saying handle your form. Okay, just to let you know, I agree with that. So you don't have to bother.
Bill Handle.
Don't waste your time.
Mornings from 6 to 10 on KFI.
It's Father's Day this week, so I'm going to give you a break, Rick. Here are the top 5 reasons.
I'm not a father.
Oh, you're not a father? Just go with it. Not a father. Yep, makes perfect sense. Number 5.
Father's Day freebie. Dads get a free dad ball cap just by showing up June 20th.
Number 4.
Get a cool action camera for dad when you earn 500 points on your rewards card the 21st or 22nd.
Number 3.
Celebrate Dad's Day at Good Times Cafe. Get a juicy bone-in ribeye, sides, and dessert for one low price.
Number 2.
Take Dad to the lazy river. It's open.
And the number 1 reason to go to Morongo.
Spoil Dad or yourself at Same Spa. Get the massage you desperately need and deserve.
Morongo Casino Resort and Spa. Conveniently located along the I-10. Less than 90 minutes from wherever you are. Morongo. Good times.
Contractor license 1047781.
$129 will make a world of difference in the efficiency of your air conditioner, because just $129 is all it costs to have one of my genius Gettle technicians come to your home and perform a complete system rejuvenation.
We're going to clean and adjust your air conditioner
And make 6 critical adjustments to bring it back to factory specs.
Rejuvenation reduces breakdowns and makes your AC last longer.
a lot longer. Rejuvenation!
And we'll clean the coils the right way, not the easy way.
You do not want to face Ken Goodrich if he finds out you did it the easy way.
You can't imagine how much difference it makes when the coils have been cleaned the right way.
6 critical adjustments and external coil cleaning the right way.
Kenny and the boys are going to make your air conditioner sing like paparazzi.
I think you mean Pavarotti.
Yeah, him too.
Gettle. Goettl. We're the ones to call.
But it's hard to spell.
Replacing your windows and doors doesn't have to be stressful. Instead, it can be transformational. Turning your home into a space that inspires you to live healthier, happier, more comfortably. Seamlessly blending indoors and out to help you feel connected to nature. Marvin Windows and Doors can make the difference. They're thoughtfully designed for the way you live, with an inspiring range of options that let you create the look you want, and lasting quality you can feel great about. When you work with a local independent Marvin dealer, you'll get straight advice about window and door replacement. Marvin specialists will help you plan your project and select the right products for your needs. They'll give you a detailed proposal so you know exactly what you're getting, and make the whole process easier. If you're ready to transform how your home feels with windows and doors you feel great about, schedule your free consultation at replacementmadeeasy.com. That's replacementmadeeasy.com.
Hi, it's Dr. Wendy Walsh. You know, my dad didn't hug me very often, and I don't ever remember him telling me he loved me. But his love language was acts of service. Whenever I moved to a new apartment, he'd come build me a bookshelf by hand. He did all the maintenance on my cars alone. He helped me buy cars. My dad showed me he loved me, and that's how I knew.
Happy Father's Day from KFI. KFI AM 640 Los Angeles, Orange County.
And KOST HD2.
It's 5 a.m. What did you miss?
It's time for Wake Up Call with Jennifer Jones Lee.
And good Wednesday morning to you. Happy Hump Day. Hump Day doesn't offend me. I say Hump Day, I say Friday Eve. Thanks for waking up with me on this Wednesday, June 16th. I'm Layla Muhammad in for Jennifer Jones-Lee. It's KFI AM 640 live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. We have an action-packed show for you today, so you'll want to stay tuned. Plus, following this show, we have Bill Handel in with Handel on the news. Here are some of the stories we're following right now. Back to business as usual. California has reopened, lifting those COVID-19 restrictions. The heat wave continues today. More triple-digit temperatures ahead. By the way, we had a power outage yesterday. Mama was not happy. And Mama is me, even though I don't have any kids. I'm still Mama. And toxic makeup. What a new study found is in more than half of the cosmetics sold in the U.S. At 5:05, coming up shortly, we are checking in with ABC's Karen Travers. She is with President Biden right now in Geneva, where he is meeting, as we speak, with Russian President Vladimir Putin. That summit is underway. Let's start with some stories coming out of the KFI 24-hour newsroom. Universal Studios has been the backdrop for the next chapter in the California COVID-19 story.
California is open again.
Governor Newsom declared an end to the colored tiers surrounded by a cloud of confetti and Universal characters, but the jubilation yesterday was tempered with the challenges that reopening present. Specifically, how do people know who and who isn't vaccinated?
But the bottom line at the end of the day is we got to trust people to do the right thing and to be honest in terms of their self-attestation.
Newsom reiterated the state wouldn't be requiring passports and it would be up to businesses to set their own masking and vaccination policies. Chris Ancarlo, KFI News.
LA County health officials are still pressing the case for people to get vaccinated. Health Services Director Christina Galley is pleading with vaccine holdouts to go ahead and get the shot.
Realize what I know you know to be true, that the internet is a mishmash of misinformation, lies, and exaggerations. The facts are that the vaccine is safe. The vaccine is effective.
The county reopened yesterday, but Galley warns the virus can still spread among the unvaccinated. The county reports that 66% of eligible people have gotten at least one shot, and 56% are fully vaccinated. Dodger Stadium has brought back 50,000 screaming fans.
Feels great to be able to have a full house.
That was Steve Brenner with the Dodgers. Yesterday, the stadium leaders kicked off reopening day at full capacity. He says team officials have been working with state, county, and city officials to make this a reality since 15,000 fans were allowed back into the stadium earlier this year. And the CDC says the highly transmissible Delta variant is on track to become the dominant form of COVID-19 in the U.S. Some parents say they're concerned about their kids because under 12s aren't eligible yet for vaccines. Emergency room doctor Lali Garabagina says kids should keep doing things they've been doing so far.
Parents and their children should continue to follow the CDC guidelines and their own local public health department guidelines.
The Delta variant now accounts for 10% of new cases in the country. Well, coming up, we check in with ABC's Karen Travers about what's happening in Geneva right now. So let's take a look at that drive. A crash on the 405.
It's in Costa Mesa on the 405 southbound at Fairview. It's an overturned vehicle in the right lane, so they've stopped all the lanes temporarily. That drive's going to jam up for you right around Harbor Boulevard. In Carson, just a stalled car on the 110 south at Carson Street. It's on the on-ramp. You can see it from the freeway, but not really much effect to your drive. South LA, though, on the 110 north at Gage, dump truck lost its load on the Gage off-ramp, so that off-ramp is going to be shut down for cleanup for some time. In the West Athens area, 105 westbound before Vermont, wrecking the carpool lane and the left lane. Expect that to be a little disappointing this early, right around Central. And Glendora, 210 west at the 57 south, fuel spill in the right lane of that connector road. KFI and the Sky helps get you there faster. I'm Robin Bay.
Thanks, Robin. Right now, let's say good morning to ABC's Karen Travers. Karen, what a busy day you've had so far. So this summit between President Putin and President Biden is happening right now, still underway. Take us
right
through,
now, just started.
Just started. Take us through sort of, before you get to what they're talking about, take us through the build-up, arriving and the energy. What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, the city has been decked out in anticipation of this summit. There are U.S. and Russian flags lining one of the small, low bridges over the lake where the two motorcades went before they arrived at the 18th century villa where the summit is taking place. People were lining the streets to see the motorcades go past. I could actually see it from the balcony of where our workspace is. So this is a very big deal here for Geneva, which is no stranger to U.S.-Russian summits. Ronald Reagan did one here with Mikhail Gorbachev back in 1985, and the Swiss were very eager to play the middleman in this, set up this
conversation between President Biden and President Putin. Now, they just started about a half an hour ago, 20 or so minutes ago, to sit down in what is anticipated to be a 4 to 5 hour meeting over the next half a day here. It's split up into two sessions. You're going to see the President and President Putin with their top diplomats. That's the first meeting. They'll take a break, and then they're going to bring in senior staff, which for the President is his National Security Advisor, a Deputy Secretary of State, and officials on the National Security Council who are Russia experts. Afterwards, we'll have a chance to ask the President questions. He's going to hold a press conference, but do it by himself. Different than how President Trump did it back in 2018 in Finland when he stood side by side with Vladimir Putin and took questions.
Yeah, I saw Biden talking yesterday about that, saying that he didn't want this to be sort of a competition about, during this press conference together. What are some of the things they are discussing right now?
The president says he is going to put pressure on Vladimir Putin on cybersecurity, of course, because of that recent spate of ransomware attacks that were launched by bad actors based in Russia. He's also going to push him on human rights in the case of Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny. Russia's election interference will likely come up, as well as Russian aggression against Ukraine. The president has been very clear that this is a chance to reset the U.S.-Russia relationship on a new path forward. They want this to be more predictable, more stable. Both he and Putin said this week that the relationship right now is at a low point. So they're not looking, though, to see some significant achievement, no concrete agreement or major breakthrough that the two leaders will shake hands and sign. Instead, it's about starting the conversation to bring things back from that low point.
At one point, there was some discussion of a prisoner swap. Can you touch on that?
This is on the table, according to Secretary of State Secretary of State Antony Blinken, who said that the detentions of two American former U.S. Marines, Trevor Reed and Paul Whelan, will be brought up today by the president in those discussions with Vladimir Putin. Now, this is a complicated issue because remember, the president was asked about a prisoner swap over the weekend, and he signaled that he would be open to exchanging cyber criminals with Russia. A few hours later, the National Security Advisor walked that back, did a bit of a cleanup with reporters saying the president wasn't agreeing to a prisoner swap, that he just wants to see Russia hold cyber criminals there accountable. But in the case of Paul Whelan and Trevor Reed, Secretary Blinken said that their detentions need to end, and the president is going to push Putin on that.
Now, you said yesterday the reception, for the most part, overall with President Biden meeting with world leaders has been really, really good for the most part. What is next for him after this meeting today with Vladimir Putin?
After he does that press conference, he heads back to Washington. It's a long trip back from Switzerland. This is it. There's no other stops on the trip unless there's something they're planning that we don't know about, but he will head back to Washington and be there for Thursday.
And you'll head back as well. No cicadas there, I'm assuming.
Right. Hopefully not. Hopefully the plane is not delayed to leaving here. Everybody's a little tired, but this is game day here.
All right. Well, have a safe trip back, Karen. We appreciate it.
Have a great day.
Thank you. You too. All right, let's get back to some of the stories coming out of the KFI 24-hour newsroom. You heard Karen just now talking about President Biden meeting with President Putin.
Mr. Biden, are you ready to reset relations with Russia? What did you consider a win today, Mr. President? How are you feeling?
Yeah, that reporters shouting questions as President Biden arrived at the site for the summit with Russia's President Vladimir Putin in Geneva. Both leaders agreed that U.S.-Russian relations are at an all-time low. Now, Biden has called out Putin over cyber attacks on U.S. companies by Russian hackers and for interfering in American elections. Putin's aides say his main aim is to restore basic channels of communication. A former Marine being held in jail in Russia is asking President Biden for help in his meeting with Putin. You heard Karen talk about this as well. The family of Trevor Reed has released a new audio message from the former Marine recorded from inside a prison in Moscow.
I spent my whole life in the service of my country, and I would appreciate it if my country would help to bring me home in this difficult situation back to my family.
Reed and another ex-Marine, Paul Whelan, are both being held in Russia. Biden says he will talk about them with Putin. A bill to make Juneteenth a national holiday is on its way to the House, where it's expected to pass and go on to be signed by President Biden. ABC's Andy Fields says the bill passed unanimously in the Senate yesterday.
For more than 150 years, African Americans have celebrated Juneteenth. It's the day news that slavery had ended finally reached black Americans in the Southwest.
Juneteenth has become increasingly popular in recent years, and some states already recognize June 19th as a holiday. It is celebrated with festivals, parades, and educational events. Hey, more triple-digit temperatures are expected in Riverside County today. I was talking with my editor, Brian, about this, how hot it got in Riverside yesterday. The National Weather Service says daily heat records were broken yesterday in places like Palm Springs, where it was 119. Why? It says today it could get as hot as 108 in parts of the Inland Empire. The State Water Resources Control Board has warned farmers in Central California their water could be cut off this summer because of the drought. It says there may not be enough irrigation water for the nearly 7,000 farmers in the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta watershed until winter rains come. The board says that's mainly because the Sierra Nevada snowpack is very sparse this year. If you have an interest, there's a good chance the cruise lines have a ship for you.
The cruise industry is slowly getting back to sailing, and they're coming up with themes to get people on board. Some dedicated cruises include a focus on things like beer or wine, with tastings in ports of call like Germany. A Beatles cruise will include live performances, films, and all of the nostalgia you can handle. There's a Star Trek cruise that promises you'll become part of the crew. An 80s party in the Caribbean is about what you'd expect with the pop culture. And hot on the heels of the recent reunion special, the Friends cruise will have you eating like Joey, joking like Chandler, cooking like Monica, and you get the rest. Happy sailing. Michael Crozier, KFI News.
Okay, really quickly, I want to shout out everyone who sent me a tweet yesterday. So the start of yesterday morning, I said that I was struggling with my coffee selection at home. I'm not going to talk about the brand and make them feel bad. It's very basic, mediocre. It makes me feel basic. You know what I'm saying? You get a basic coffee, you feel basic. So I said yesterday, hey, if you have a brand that can really get me going in the morning, let me know. So first things first, I want to say thank you to... Can I find the tweet, Layla? This is what you do, Layla. Bless your heart. One person said to me, I think Jace, said instead of coffee in the morning, maybe try some hot chocolate. So I like that. And then Kay Paul said, the Cafe Verona Dark Starbucks Turkish grind, apparently it's like the best. So I'm going to try that. I appreciate those suggestions to help me get some pep in my step. So when we come back, we are talking with our buddy Rich DeMuro this morning. It is Tech Wednesday, getting all of our Android messages. Got an upgrade, a major piracy upgrade. We're talking TikTok, beating out YouTube in a special titleship, and he's trying to showerhead. I hope I got all those right. Rich is busy. That's coming up when we return after the break, but first, from the Southern California Toyota Dealers Traffic Center, we make it easy. Robin, you know I haven't had my coffee.
I can tell you haven't had your coffee.
You can tell? No, is it that bad? Oh, bless my heart.
The thought process is
it's a little off. Yeah, a little off. Thank you for being honest with me. I appreciate you.
We all do that.
Yeah.
We all do that. That was me yesterday all day. So, very good.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to Acton on the 14, northbound side of the 14 after Sierra Highway. It's a motorcycle crash. It's got the off-ramp shut down, so not the main lines, but you will probably see some slowing here on the northbound side as you go through. South LA on the 110 north at Gage, that is a dump truck that lost its load of whatever it was on the off-ramp, so that's shut down, so they can clean that up. Costa Mesa, overturned vehicle 405 south at Fairview. Right lane is blocked with that car, but they closed down all the lanes to try to drag it over to the right shoulder. And Glendora on the 210 west at the 57 south, a fuel spill, right lane at that connector road. KFI in the Sky helps get you there faster. I'm Robin Banks.
This report is sponsored by Mercury Insurance. Low rates, big discounts, great insurance. You get it all with Mercury. And the best part is that it only takes a few minutes to get a fast free quote. That's right, just a few minutes could save you a few $100s. So what are you waiting for? Get started with a free quote today at mercuryinsurance.com.
Let's make some noise, y'all. Get up out of your seats, man. iHeartRadio Music Festival!
Hey, it is Ryan Seacrest here with the moment you've been waiting more than a year for. As the world begins to open back up, we can finally get back to the things we love doing. Live music is something we missed dearly in 2020, but now it is back. Get ready to experience the music you love in person, September 17th and 18th in Las Vegas, where you'll witness live performances that will never be forgotten. Here is this year's superstar lineup for our 2021 iHeartRadio Music Festival. On the T-Mobile Arena stage, Friday and Saturday night, you'll see Billie Eilish, Cheap Trick, Coldplay, Weed, Lil Baby, Maroon 5, Nelly, Sam Hunt, and Weezer. And now here's who's playing the daytime stage at Area 15 on Saturday. DaBaby, Olivia Rodrigo, The Kid Laroi, Saweetie, All Time Low, 24K Golden, Russell Dickerson, Young Blood, Gabby Barrett, Tate McRae, Conan Ray, Addison Ray, and even more names will continue to be added to those lineups. Tickets go on sale to the general public next Friday, June 25th at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific through ASS.com. And Capital One cardholders are getting exclusive access to tickets before the general public during the pre-sale starting June 23rd for 48 hours while supplies last. Visit iHeartRadio.com/Capital One for details. Beginning today, you'll have chance to to our 2021 iHeartRadio Music Festival before tickets even go on sale. Your first chance to win coming up just a little while right here. Make plans to join us on September 17th and 18th, streaming on the CW app and CWTV.com and broadcasting on iHeartRadio stations all across America. Live music is back at our 2021 iHeartRadio Music Festival. iHeartRadio.
This is Dan Patrick. Here's what's trending on the iHeart Sports Network, presented by Mercedes-AMG.
Tyler Glasnow is blaming baseball's crackdown on foreign substances for his injury. The Rays ace said he felt something pop after adjusting his grip because he had to stop using sunscreen. Starting Monday, Major League Baseball will issue 10-game suspensions to players who are caught with Dodger baseball. And for the first time since 2019, Dodger Stadium was at full capacity. Mookie Betts hit a go-ahead homer to lift the Dodgers past the Phillies. I'm Misty Jordan.
Do you suffer from lead foot? Do goosebumps appear for no reason? Stop living with uninspired performance. Visit MBUSA.com/AMG and find out if a Mercedes-AMG Coupe, sedan, or SUV is right for you. Mercedes-AMG, driving performance.
Summer is here, so as the weather heats up, we start drinking and using more water at home. But don't reach for those nasty plastic water bottles. You can fill any glass or reusable bottle with filtered water coming straight from the taps in your house if you had a Life Source Whole House water system. And a Life Source Whole House water system reduces the odor and taste of chlorine from your water. Plus, you'll be bathing and showering in filtered water, so your hair and your skin will be free of the drying, harmful effects of chlorine. And with a Life Source water system,